Okay. So I'm back. I'm back. I'm here's. So give me like 1 sec just to kind of like tell other people that I'm here and then I'm back. Yeah, I totally messed up and like I stopped recording, but I didn't stop streaming. And that, and merp. Sorry, the internet. It plagues me. Okay. All right. Somebody wrote in the comments if I think all white men are like that, why do I fuck white men? And it's not that I think all white men are like that. It's more so not like it's more about not fucking the ones that are like that than rather than like saying that like you can't say shit like that. Because it is true, you know, white supremacy is set up for us to like be lusting after white men. If you look at and like people try to say that like television and shit like that shit that's like responsible for a lot of like what we think and how we feel about things, and things that like really shape us as people. A lot of people like to think that that doesn't matter, but as you can see, that's not the fucking case at all. Considering, I think most young black women can remember like growing up and not really being able to be like a Disney princess that was black. You know, even Tiana is not like, I mean, she's a Disney princess, but like her whole story was some bullshit. So, I mean, like when you think about it like that, it's like, you know, they make it really hard for us to have representation. Therefore, whenever we see like love stories and shit like that, it's always like a white man with a white woman. Or if the woman is not white, she's damn near fucking close. You know what I mean? Or she's light as fuck. It's very rare that we see like a dark-skinned black woman getting any motherfucking love. So like almost all of our experiences, we kind of have to, you know, squint to kind of see them through a lens of like whiteness, of heteronormativity, not queer, so it's definitely, it definitely helps to kind of push you in a direction. So when I'm out and about and I'm hit up by a white dude, you know, we only need to have conversation for so long before I know some fucking key things about this white person in particular. And the same goes for like other people too, you know, like there's like indicators of like fuckery in initial meetings of people. But I'll tell you right now, it's very rare that you have to talk to a white person for very long before you recognize some shit, before you recognize how much privilege they fucking are like oblivious to, or how much privilege they have and use and really don't give a fuck about using and oppressing other people. And but like that doesn't mean that but then we also have to look at autonomy. And because, you know, sexual preference and attraction are things that are, you know, in a lot of ways they're pushed towards us. And I think that, you know, interestingly enough, Laverne Cox, who plays Sophia Brissett on Orange is the New Black, she made the assertion that, you know, as a trans woman, I don't know, I didn't move it. I didn't use it today. So wherever you put it is where it is. Are you sure it's not in here?
Sure, yes. Oh, I know.
I'm dead.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Oh, hide an ass. But fuck, where was I?
Sorry. You talking about Sophia Brissett.
Thank you. In terms of Laverne Cox, who plays Sophia Brissett in Orange is the New Black, she asserts that as a trans woman, most men find out that they're attracted to trans women from porn. So they approach her in porn-like ways, or with like, or with the intention to create a system or create a situation in which, you know, the porn-based logic like works. And I think it's also very similar for fat women, because I think that a lot of men find out that they like fat women through watching porn with fat women in it. and if they are like dating fat women, I feel like there's like also this like in the same way that people would say like down low for like men who fuck men, there's also this down low for men who fuck fat women. Thank you, Peglessness. But there's also this definitely this down low of like thin men or men that are fit, or even actually men who are like super athletic who fuck fat women. And it can definitely be a fetish, more so than a preference, because I think that 9 times out of 10 we're not seeing fat women in TV. We're not seeing fat women get any recognition in terms of like, being able to love themselves, being able to have autonomy, being able to do the things that they want to do. I think that when, like if you look at the movie Precious, they showed this movie through the lens of a white person, and I realized that this was Tyler Perry's rendition, but I feel like that this was like a white friendly lens into the black community that is definitely skewed, being that he is a man. So he's looking at this shit as a black man who's trying to make cinema for white people. He's trying to make black cinema white friendly, and I think that what he does is he uses like these big names or these like light skinned POC to kind of like be in his films, and just perpetuate these stereotypes instead of creating new storylines to kind of help shape the idea that black people have. I think that I think in some ways white culture gets like this the sky's the limit kind of attitude, because white people can be wizards, white people can go to space, white people can turn into dragons, vampires, zombies. White people can do all of these things in movies, so they've kind of transcended this like imaginary barrier. But then when you look at like people of color, we're continuing to play tropes. If you look at Devious Maids and shit like that, we continue to play these really like we're these interesting characters, but we're like in this confined box. So you even see like Orange is the New Black, we see like all these POC people who have like amazing stories, but they're like little segments in the story that follows around the main white characters. And I don't know, I think and but as I was saying though, because men realize that I think because like beauty standards that are pushed at I'm sorry, I get kind of flustered. Beauty standards push that thin white men and white women deserve each other. They deserve love. They deserve happiness. And when we see that kind of humanity, we try to like transcend that into our own lives. And because we don't see like fat women being loved by thin men, just for who they are, not for like they're fat, not because of their pretty face, not because they have money, not because they're fucking famous for some stupid reason. We never really see this like honest relationship between like a fat femme person and and a thin person, or even two fat people. And then when we do see two fat people together, there's usually like this joke about them being fat. And even myself, even with my me and Rob Kardashian, I do joke about us like going to buffets and things like that. But I mean, that's more true to life. I personally do love buffets. I think that they're like fucking the smartest invention ever. It's like a picnic for people who ain't fucking around. You know what I mean? We know how much we want to eat. We know we want a pan full of chicken, so please provide it to us, and also a giant vat of just melted butter. That's also amazing. Um, See, and that's the thing. I think when we don't see ourselves as normal, or rather as being able to have dimension, we can kind of fall into that trap. So to get back onto what I was talking about, we can definitely assert that because white men are the norm in terms of love interests, loving men of color or not loving men of color is definitely seen as something that's a positive thing, or a negative thing. I think that when you see women of color, say that they love men of color, people are always behind that. But when women of color examine autonomy and do find a white partner, or a white passing partner who does have that privilege, I think that it's often met with like a lot of like shadiness. But also I think that we have to take accountability for the fact that a lot of people are dating white people or light skinned people or people with white privilege or mixed privilege for their privilege, you know, for that light eye, for that light skin. Like they're like that privilege looks like a commodity in a way. Brianna Alexis, there is a difference between fetish and attraction. However, here's one popular fetishization.
Yeah.
When women say, I'll fuck a woman, but I won't date a woman. That is you seeing a woman as an object. That's you seeing a woman's extreme. That's you seeing a woman explicitly for her vagina, for the things that make her sexual to you, and not for anything else. I think that when people say things like that, Bougie Smalls, of course, white women and white men perpetuate stereotypes of power roles on purpose. But the thing is, the thing is, to be complicit does not mean you're actively perpetuating. It can be as much as like passively perpetuating, and that's the problem. Is that there are not enough white people who are like aware of their privilege and aware of like what that means, and therefore they say dumbass shit such as anti-racism is anti-white. You feel me? And I think that that's like what really bothers me, because anti-racism is actually anti-whiteness. It's anti-white gaze. It's anti, I'm sick of fucking watching movies where the protagonist is some white dude who's fucking sad about nothing. I think recently I actually saw a trailer for a movie called Her, and the movie basically is about this white dude who like broke up with someone who's sad, and like the first like couple sentences, or rather the first couple instances of the movie, there's a computer talking to him, asking him his relationship with his mother, you know, asking him a lot of questions about like women in general. And his lifestyle, and then like right away they assign him this like operating system that is controlled somehow, or rather the interface is a woman's voice, Scarlett Johansson. So cue this like smoky voiced computer woman that like talks to this man and like makes him feel alive, makes him feel good again. And it's like, and it's a play on the same old tropes of like a woman being like the supporting like band-aid, or being the fucking subservient sidekick, and not even a sidekick because there's no action there. It's more so, you know, the person that supports the dialogue so that the main character can actually get somewhere and can actually do something. So this person is completely ineffective in any other way other than to kind of further the storyline for the main character, which usually happens to be like a white cis man. And then from there, you know, we just see how his life changes through this this computer program with this smoky voice. Changes his whole mind with this like infantile kind of rhetoric that they have, where like he has to explain everything to her. And then it also makes me think of like that episode of Girls where Adam says that he taught Hannah everything, how he taught Hannah how to use soap. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like, what grown man is teaching a grown woman how to use fucking soap? You know, what man has it in his mind that this person, that like this I don't want to say female person, this femme person doesn't know how to use fucking soap, and that like they had to teach them everything. And while I do think that there can be like this wide-eyed wonderment where like I think that like because like men are socialized to like learn how to fix things, and like not all men, but I think that like primarily like men are socialized to like fix things, and like, you know, are taught things like that's basic for them, that like we have to fucking like argue about, like just to like sit in on and like figure out. You know, I think like when my father was teaching my brother how to like fix electronics and shit like that, he never really thought to bring me into the room, but it's like, motherfucker, I work with electronics too, you know, I could benefit from learning how to fucking like jailbreak a phone, or kind of circumvent like some shit on my computer. See, I don't even know the fucking words for it. I wish that like the men in my life had valued me as more than just like a female bodied person, and thought to like teach me something that is not specific to masculinity. However, it would seem that a lot of times masculine people do take on the responsibility for knowing how to fix shit, and will not pass that knowledge on to me, because an idea that I'm weak, an idea that I'm not interested, an idea that's completely unfounded in anything other than the fact that I have tits, and therefore I would have no interest in learning how to fix something. Um, um, mm, I don't think, I think that the attraction white men have to black women is inherently something that is bred in them. I think white people have it in their souls to colonize. I think that white people want to invade and want to be a part of shit, because they have been taught that they don't have shit to be a part of. Because when you assume whiteness, in a way, because of whiteness, you have to kind of give up your culture. You know, whiteness is its own culture, unfortunately, but it is not founded in anything. And I think that the culture that whiteness kind of steals from are actual cultures, you know. And I think that that's why, like, white people, they have it inside of them that like that they have nothing, and therefore they must take everything, when in reality that's not true. You know, you whenever you hear white people say, oh, I'm part Italian and part Irish, you know what I mean, that's them trying to get away from their whiteness, because they've bought into and they're benefiting from whiteness. Therefore they're more willing to talk to you about like how Scottish or Irish or Italian or Norwegian they are. They're more willing to like pull that shit out of the fucking bag and talk about that, because that's a way for them to other themselves. Not even talking about like the customs, not talking about traditions, just talking about for the namesake. And I feel like mixed people do that as well a lot of times too, especially dark skin or people who are non white passing POC. They do this shit where they like talk about all of the heritages that they really don't fucking know about, and that's mainly because of the diaspora and colonization, and that's not your fault. However, I think that the claiming that is to kind of like other yourself from blackness, other yourself from being a Latina, other yourself from being a person of color, and other yourself in the implications of like whiteness and what that means. But in terms of like white men being attracted to black women, that's possible, but more often than not, white men are attracted to black women for very specific things that are usually signs of like objectification, sexualization, exoticism. White men are typically like dating black women, and they usually have fucked up ass politics, and they'll say some fucked up ass shit. Case in point, this person telling me that like their partner, who is a black woman from Haiti, must know fucking magic, must have cast a spell on him, because he's not an adult enough to say, hey, this isn't working out, I need you to kind of move out of my fucking house. If that's how you fucking feel, that's how you fucking feel. But like, don't try to say that this bitch put a spell on you because you're not able to like stand the fuck up and say, hey, you know, this relationship isn't really working for me, and da da da. um I wouldn't say a fit, attractive white guy will sleep with a fat man or woman with, but will never put a ring on it, because I think that that's like a fat phobic statement. And I think that again, fat phobia creates this idea that if you get fat, you'll be worthless. And so I think a lot of people who are into being fit, who are into like losing weight and cutting weight and I'm playing. You could cough. Go ahead. Get some water. Oh, wait. I want to cough too. Yeah. Um, but yeah, as I was saying, fat phobia makes it so that, you know, people who work out in excessive amounts, they do fetishize fat people, because again, you know, when you see thin people, when you see fit people as being like attractive and being sought after more, there's always going to be like this like almost seen as deviant act of like not being attracted to like the norm or being attracted to like what is expected of you, you know. So again, that's why you can I don't think it's possible to fetishize white men. I think that the preference or the idea that like white men are better than men of color is obviously internalized white supremacy, obviously internalized white superiority, and it's something that you can be a part of without being a white person. You can be a black woman saying, I ain't trying to be with no dark skinned man, or I'm not trying to be with no man of color because I want light skinned babies. That's a way of internalizing whiteness and thinking that whiteness is superior, or thinking that the mixture of whiteness and blackness is somehow superior, because that is not the case. You know what I mean? That's again exotification and othering yourself. Um, See, and that's also an issue. Like the idea that there's the masculine, feminine gender association with female-bodied people who present gender in their own ways. You know, a femme, a woman, and a stud or a butch or a gender variant person. You know, that's the same pussy. You feel me? So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, that like you're not looking at that person as a person. You're looking at that person's gender expressions and then like applying that to your own heteronormative like ideas. And I'm not mad at people who are like, I'm a woman and I want to date a woman who looks like a gendered woman, like looks like a cis woman, you know. However, she's not cis, like if she's gay. So actually that's not true. That's not true. Excuse me. Excuse me. That's I misspoke. That's not what I meant to say. Um I think like this idea that like if you're like there's what I'm trying to say is there's no heteronormative roles in like a gay couple. If you're a woman and they're a woman, um, neither of you will be the man ever, you know, unless one of you wants to be a man or identifies as a man. But unless that's happened, even if that's the case, if I identify as a man and I am dating a woman who dates women, you know, you're not like you can't tell me. Bleh. It gets kind of tricky, but it's not tricky. What I mean to say is, if I am a female-bodied person, I identify as a man, and I'm dating my partner who is a woman who identifies as a woman, I'm I'm whatever whatever sexuality that I have decided to label myself as. But I can definitely say that I'm a straight person because I am a man and therefore I am dating a woman. Whereas that woman who is dating someone who does identify as a man can certainly say that they're queer or, whatever other words they want to use for it. But, if I say I'm a man, I'm a man. Not defining, what a man is to anyone else, just saying that if I say I'm a man and you're a woman, that's a straight relationship. But that's not at all what I'm saying. I don't have a white preference. I've never wanted to date a white person. That's awesome for you. Cool. Again, autonomy. If you want to date a white person, you can. But I think it's more about breaking down and unpacking like the want to date a white person versus the need to date a white person versus the desire to date a white person. See, but Jaspinell, that's also like saying that like femmes aren't aggressive when that's really not the case. I've definitely met femmes who are super aggressive. So you have to stop like generalizing like gender and generalizing traits, characteristics of people who are femme or not. Um, Yeah, no, I don't want to subscribe to the belief that like mixed children or children of mixed heritage have to go through hell. I think that most times, this hell that mixed children claim to go through is 100% more about the fact that like, you know, people aren't really being taught about respectability. People aren't really being taught, to really understand that there is no right or wrong way to be black. And to be honest with you, the right way to be black is to just remain black at all times. To be honest, like that's the rightest way to be black, is to remain black. But as far as like defining blackness, I think that like a lot of blackness has been defined by white people, and therefore it's not a true idea or depiction of blackness. Like people would like to think that, blackness is rap. Blackness is, fitteds. Blackness is Indian hemp grease. Blackness is fried chicken. Blackness is watermelon. All of these tropes and things, it just doesn't really make it doesn't really make it blackness. I think that, if I'm black and I'm doing something, that's blackness. And I think that that's how we allow blackness to be so many majestical and elegant things. Blackness is, children in the many vast countries in Africa creating so many inventions. Do you know recently children, I believe it was Ghana, children in Ghana created a motor that ran on urine. Like, how smart is that? Like, there's no like in America we would laugh at that shit. In America we would fucking sneer at that. But think about it. What is more abundant than piss? You feel me? What is a resource that like we all have at all times? That's very smart. That's a very smart way of thinking. But but as I said, a lot of light-skinned mixed race people have this fucked up idea that they have to choose which race they are. And I will say this, I can't speak for every experience, because I know that there are Afro-Latinas out there who are like, oh, I don't know if I'm black, I don't know if I'm Latina, when Afro-Latina exists. I think that there are, brown-skinned people who have a white parent that say that they're white. And while you can, and I think that comes from like breaking yourself down into like these like little pie charts. You know what I mean? I'm like 30% Barbadian, 40% da da da. You know what I mean? Just telling people what you are. And the thing is, those things are relevant in stories from like your grandma or your mom or like your family. But in terms of like telling people who you are, you have to be real about your experiences. My experiences are not as a one half, and not even like, my mom is biracial and therefore is a white passing person on my grandmother's side. So if anything, I would say I'm like a quarter white, which has no fucking bearings on anything. Actually, I mean, and to be honest, that's not true. I think like having a white parent obviously is like one of the reasons why you have light skin privilege. However, that's not an earning thing. That's not something you earn. That's not something that should be like celebrated. And you know what? Nikki, the fucked up part about it is my mom is a white passing person of color, and my mom, her privilege, she didn't see it as privilege. And I think that sometimes some white passing people don't see it as a privilege, because like because racism still exists, you know what I mean? Interlateral racism too, but I think that, my mom told me that she wanted to have children with a black man because she didn't want her children to go through what she went through. And what she's talking about is like, people, saying things to her like you're high yellow, saying things to her like, you're a white girl. And my mom had to fight all the time to, qualify or rather be seen as black. And I think that like that shit, like that respectability and that definition of what blackness is what really like fucks up mixed people. I think that this like idea that you got to be doing a certain type of you got to be doing certain type of shit, or you got to be in a certain type of place, or you got to be aware of certain things, or you got to be complicit in certain things, is what makes you black, when that's not true. There's so many people out there fighting to be black when they're already black enough. And there's no such thing as being white enough. If you're black and white, you're not a half and half cookie. You don't go outside and people are mean to the black side and nice to the white side, or vice versa. It's more so what your experiences are when you go outside. When you go out and you show, your hair, are people shitting on you? Are people shitting on you for your color? What are your experiences? I know for me, I've definitely had, I've definitely had people tell me that, they wish I was lighter, they wish I was darker, they wish I was thinner, all these critiques and stuff. And the way that my life has been, the way that my life has been shaped, I was raised to tell people I was mixed. But like, I didn't live a mixed life, you know what I mean? I lived a black life. So with that said, I think that it's important to remind people, that I'm black, and to be black at all times. And whenever I'm doing anything, especially something that people don't think black people should be doing, I remind them I am black. Despite what you think my hair weave denotes, despite how you think I speak, and it bothers the fuck out of me when when I'm able to code switch, and I'll be like, I'll come out of African American vernacular English just for a second, just to kind of get real with you. And people will say, oh wow, you speak so eloquently. Oh wow, you speak so clearly. It makes me fucking sick, because no one says that to white people. No one says, wow, you have a really great use of vocabulary. No one says that shit to white people, but they love saying it to black female assumed people. They love to fuck with us and act like we only got one mode. When if they really were like looking and checking for us, they would see how many fucking modes we have. You feel me? We got mad modes. Well, see, that's the thing. Like, people think music is also racialized. They think, when in reality, hip hop is like mainly consumed by white people. And you want to know why that is? That's because that need to colonize. White people want to know. White people want to know what's up. I'm telling you, and that's why I'm telling you. That's why it ties back into um, white men's out here. White men's trying it. They want to try everything. White men often see women of color as a sampler plate. They usually are like, what can I learn? What can I take? What can I appropriate from this woman and her culture? That's what they see it as. You see a lot of white dudes out here like lusting after these Asian women, and oftentimes talking about how they're subservient. And also, whenever black men talk about white women being subservient, I remember I was friends with this black man for a while, and I recently had to dead his ass for some Willie Lynch type shit. But he basically was trying to say, that he loves white women because he'll call a white woman up and have her bring him some food any time of the day, any food that he wants. And I was like, what the fuck? And I'm not going to sit here and act like there's not women of color out here that are buying men food on a fucking whim. But like, this was just like, this idea that like white women were like your footstool and that's why you preferred them just solidifies the idea of like, when people tell me they prefer white people, or when I notice a preference for liking white people, I just notice like that it's usually like this like love of being loved by the colonizer, of being loved by the oppressor, and therefore using their privilege or somehow gaining some of their favor. And as I said, this black man knew that these white women had money, so they ain't gonna say, no, I'm not gonna bring you some Dairy Queen. But the fact that like he got them bringing him Dairy Queen and he's gloating about it with a woman of color, that's just like, it's mind boggling. I don't know. It's just like, to champion white women above women of color and to say that it's because of subservience, it just makes me cringe. Because if you want a footstool, you'll never find one in black women, and I hate to say that to you. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. And I hate to say it because I didn't think I had to say it. But like, I hate to have to tell you this, but if you think you're going to put your foot on a black woman and think that that's okay, or you think that she's going to exist underneath your foot, it's not going to happen. And I think that black men thinking that black women are angry is right. We are angry, and we're angry more so because we're sick of being treated like, second best, when it's very clear that the first place bitch is the one that you want to just hold your coat, you know what I mean, and bring you some food. And the black woman has never been one to be sidekick or player two. Black women have always been doing this shit. Black women birthed America. That's why people slander black women, because nobody nobody want to listen to mama. Don't nobody want to hear mama. Don't nobody want to really think about mama. Think about your mom right now. Like, are you helping your mom out? Are you doing for your mom? And don't get me wrong, there are some mamas out there that ain't, doing it for us. And there are definitely conversations I've had about, like, not really staying with your family or condoning the fucked up shit family has done to you. But, nobody wants to really pay attention to the fact that black women is birthing them. Black women are excellent. Black women are fucking amazing. Black women are fucking amazing. And I think the worst part is the idea that black women are like monolithic. All black women are the same, when that is not the case. There are so many black women out there that are, that are transcending, that are busting out at the seams, doing all of these amazing magical things. And I think that the lack of visibility is to tell a different story. The narrative of black women in this country has always been lied about. No one ever wants to give black women fucking shine or coins or accolades or anything like that, because they would prefer to keep the spotlight on black women feuding, black women like fighting, because our voice is powerful. Black women's voice is fucking powerful. If they get us saying some shit, they get us saying some shit. Okay, like, that's just what it is. But but they don't want to show you black women talking about the real struggle or the real shit. And they very rarely do. They want to keep the tropes going. They want to keep the narratives going. And that's why, they got shows like, I watch Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, but if you watch a lot of these shows, it's the same shit all the time. It's like, oh, this person fucked this person. Oh, this person's actually a prostitute or a stripper, because we have to hate on people who do sex work. So we're going to just perpetuate this narrative that, attractive brown and black women of color are, prostitutes, strippers, hoes. You know what I mean? All these ideas, when in reality, you're not able to look at these women in like the multifaceted ways that they are women, and that they are existing. Each woman on there, well, almost each woman on there is a mother. It's someone that's like birthing them, someone that's like taking care of their child. Most of the women on there have their own companies, they have their own endeavors, they have their own coins. And they are also getting coins from this show. You know what I mean? They are. I mean, granted, the show is like, a lot of it is character assassination, but there are a lot of people on there that are just like, they're not really worried about what you see. They're more worried about that bottom line. And I think that's why, like, they're on the show. But, like, as I said, there are black women on these shows out here, and they focus on what they ain't doing or what they're doing that's wrong, but they don't really look at like the multi intersectional lives of all of these people, black men included, that serve a very interesting narrative. You know what I mean? If you watch Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, there are so many alternate storylines that they're not really covering, such as like the amount of love that like Rashida's mom has for her. The way that they painted all of their interactions were around Kirk being an asshole. So that was like a real big way to like bring down black men as a whole, when in reality, we're not even looking at Kirk as a whole. We're not, and I'm not trying to say anything positive about Kirk in terms of how he treated Rashida, but we're definitely not having a conversation about how, like, black men and women are expected to be strong at all times. And if there's this like or if there's this wavering, or if like there's a black man who like says, quite honestly, I'm sick of raising my kids, that's some real shit. That is some real fucking shit. I agree, it was a fucked up way to do it on TV in front of all these people, but it was some real shit. Like, how can you shit on someone for being honest about, where they're at in their life? They probably like, and that's what I'm gonna say. I'm not, as a person who is gender variant, I'm not going to sit here and say that men have to be strong, men have to always like do this, because like we know that that's not possible all the time. And I'm not trying to at all condone what Kurt was doing. I'm just trying to be honest about how we don't have conversations about the deeper issues at hand. We're not talking about black men going through midlife crises, because we're not expecting to see black men in their midlife. You feel me? We're not expecting them to get to a midlife crisis. So we're not willing to talk about them having midlife crises, or dealing with things that are like fucked up. Things that like are the pressures, the pressures of being male socialized, or rather black male socialized. Because I think that being black male socialized can be really fucked up, because again, we're living under this scope where blackness is being seen through the lens of the white cis man. So when you see blackness, it often looks criminal, looks like it's up to no good, looks very fucking suspicious. But the thing is, we're not looking at blackness as a neutral. We're looking at blackness as always the other, as always like the negative, as always the nigga. We never looking at, you know, black men and black women outside of that narrative. And we have never, you know, no matter what, in all news, forever, from the beginning of time of news, we've always seen black people as niggas, as others, and we only make it on TV whenever we fucking up or whenever we do something real good. And it's very rare that we see us doing some real good shit, and it takes some wild shit to happen for us to even be on the news for some legitimately positive shit. Sorry, damn, got 44 messages, yo. Got 44 messages. I'm sorry. Y'all are so funny. Bougie Smalls, you're so funny. I do agree, Sojar. White people do appropriate black culture and black bodies. And that's what I was talking about, too. When I was talking about white boys with flavor. They don't got no motherfucking flavor. These is white boys that done dip themselves in some fucking Sasson, that done dip themselves in some fucking Popeye's chicken dust. Like, they are just like these fucking cultural fucking black culture vultures. These fucking, these culture voyeurs that want to fuck a black woman just to see what black pussy be like. So they can write a song about the shit. You feel me? I'm telling you, I'm gonna give Macklemore another year before I see him with a black woman. I'm telling you. And I bet you when we see him with a black woman, it's gonna be a dark-skinned Benetton looking ass black bitch with like 2 children that don't even look like they came from Macklemore or the woman. It's gonna be just 2 rented ass babies that are just beige, ethnically ambiguous like a mug. I'm telling you, watch it. Watch Macklemore. I'm telling you, Macklemore gonna evolve, y'all. He gonna shed that white dude playing the piano and do some other shit. I'm telling you. Cause look at Jay-Z now. Not Jay-Z, sorry. Look at Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake. That nigga came out doing white people stuff, doing the shuffle, doing the white people bop, doing the white boy band, blah, blah, blah. They gonna come out by himself and be like, okay, justified. You know what I mean? Now, white man by himself. You know what I mean? He canceled all the other white dudes behind him and got new white dudes and some brown dudes and some black dudes. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna teach all these dance steps. You feel me? He was like, I'm gonna do this by myself. He even got Pharrell. He was like, Pharrell, come do this shit with me. He even got these other niggas too. Was it Nori? Was it Nerd? He got Nerd and Nori. He got both of them niggas. He got Clips. He got all these people. All these people co-signing Justin Timberlake, bopping with his ass too. Let me be your girlfriend. If you were my girlfriend, I'll treat you good. Alright, and then he do a little rap, and then he was doing Senorita, I feel for you. That was him calling out to all the Latinas. Okay, he was calling the Latinas. He was like, I'm gonna use a word like Senorita, and then get a little fucking electric piano on the beat. And I'm gonna find me some Latinas. That was his fucking. He was coming for the black woman first, with Girlfriend. Then he was coming for the Latinas and Senorita. And now he's making sure that y'all know he don't fuck with y'all. He only fuck with white bitches. And as you can see, one of his most recent videos that just came out, he had like a bunch of women of color. In the first one, which I think was Suit and Tie. I think he had a bunch of black women and women of color. But then the second one, I think it was like Tunnel Vision, he had a white woman. Because he ain't trying to play with y'all, okay? He's trying to tell y'all, Jessica Biel. He wanted him with Jessica Biel. Senorita was part-time, okay? Because that was why he took that fucking break. He was like, okay, last time they seen me, I was talking about Girlfriend and Senorita. I was rapping and I was clapping. I was jamming with Pharrell. Now, it goes to the ultimate, you know what I mean? Now he's trying to be on some Robin Thicke type shit. Like, I'll fuck with y'all niggas a little bit, you know what I mean? But really, not really, you know what I mean? So it just shows me, like, how shit just be evolving, you know? Why'd you give me this?
It's empty. Oh, you can put it back on your drink.
Oh. sorry. Oh, exactly. Blurred lines. I know a lot of people fuck with Justin Timberlake. That's you, bitch. You know, I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid no more. You know, I'm not doing it. I know, that's what I'm saying. Justin Timberlake was at the BET Award. That's how I know that nigga coming. You feel me? Him and Robin probably sitting next to each other and shit. I'm telling you, like, these white dudes, man, you let these white dudes in and they will sit down, okay? And they will be all up in your fucking face, gyrating all types of shit. Exactly. Exactly. But you know, that's all, you know. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I fucks with Justin Timberlake. I used to. I really did. But that's Elvis, you feel me? That's Elvis. There are too many, you know, Trey Songz right now ain't working, and they got JT and Robin Thicke singing these songs when we all know that Trey Songz falsetto is everything. So it was just killing me, you know. Yes, he is on Robin's theme. Yes, Jazzy, go in. Go in. I'm sorry, let me go back in the chat though, because y'all be writing some funny stuff. You ain't know Macklemore was white till you seen a picture though. Child. Alright. I'm not gonna fuck with you. Mm-hmm. Exactly. How do we push forward? By being seen. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that, like, we can't control mass media, but we can control, like, what our eyes see. Your eyes are on a diet. Whatever you let into your life is what you are going to, like, let into, like, you know, all facets of yourself. When you see pictures of, like, thin people and you champion them shits and you think that, like, they're, like, amazing and you think that they're so perfect, and, you know, if you tell yourself that the opposite of your body, or rather that a body that is not yours is better than your body or is more worthy of love, then you set yourself up to not receive love and to not feel like you deserve love, and feel like it's like not appropriate for you to be desiring of love, because why should anyone love you when you look that way, or when people make you feel like you've given up or something like that. And as far as like black people accepting appropriation, I think it's more so about educating people on what appropriation is. We have to start small, you feel me? We have to like really start within ourselves and talk about what is appropriation, what is congruent to the black experience, the Latino experience, the Asian experience that is being taken by white people, and like get mad about it. I'm definitely seeing an uprising of people being more active, especially online, and talking about these things and calling people out. Recently, there was an article, and I want to say within like the last like 2 days, about how ABC posted saying that they have a new non-white bachelor, and the bachelor. Now, first of all, there are white Latinos. Latinos. There are Latino is a culture. It's not a race. Okay, so someone can be, you know, like I said, Afro Latino. You know what I mean? Someone can be white Latina, white. I'm sorry, white Latina, and that's possible. You know what I mean? Again, so this person, blonde hair, blue eyes, very pale skin, and they're really trying to make it seem like he is a non-white person, and that's just not the case. Um, but but yeah, you know, that's definitely that's definitely what needs to happen. You have to really open up your mouth and really and fight back, and you know, use your words. I'm dead at y'all saying Justin Timberlake has a lane. Why are y'all doing this? Like, are y'all really like trying to derail? Who cares? Who cares if people are doing dumb shit in the chat? Let's move on. But yeah, he's a no. I don't think he's a white Cuban. He's Venezuelan. So I think he's a white Venezuelan. But I mean, like, I could be wrong, but I'm almost 1,000,000% sure that that's what I read. However, I think that it's important to note that, like, whiteness, again, whiteness transcends in POC communities. There are white passing POC people. There are white passing POC people who don't understand that they have privileges. So, um, as I was saying, uh, it's important for us to open our mouths and to talk about the shit. You can't sit here and criticize a race of people that you belong to when it's really, like, up to you to, like, be someone who can be a mouthpiece. Like, there are so many ways to be active, that don't involve you, like, implicating or rather shitting on the Black community, the Latino community, any community of people of color where people aren't 100% woken up. And it's not hard to not be awoke, or rather to not be waking up. It's really hard to not be sleeping. So for all of y'all that are awake, remind yourself that, like, you were once asleep too, and then it took you a minute to wake up. And just because you awake now don't mean that you're better than somebody, but it does mean that you have a responsibility. And I think that that's what's hard for people who are awake to accept, that, like, you're not done being awake. Once you wake up, it's your job to wake up others. It's your job to say something to other people, and not to a point where, like, you're exhausting yourself, and not to a point where you're having screaming matches and shit like that with other people. Because I definitely think that I definitely think that oh, shit, what was I just saying? I definitely think that a big part of waking other people up, involves you realizing what the stakes are, and, like, when to wake up and when to kind of just, like, let that person, like, say what they have to say, and just, agree to disagree, I guess, and, like, maybe give that person some space until you can, like, resume. But I definitely think y'all are just using the fucking chat for evil. um but as I was saying, it's important, that as someone who wakes people up, you need to remember, like, for your personal self, you have to know when and when not to engage people. Because I know that I burnt myself out once. Like, I had like an hour-long discussion with people who first didn't believe white supremacy existed, second believed that we should be teaching children not about slavery because that divides children. And that's what fucks me up too. Like, the experience of slavery, the experience of being taught slavery should be erased from future generations because of bad feelings that white people have. Because this person kind of set up that whole thing to tell me that, like, they have friends who had to deal with white guilt. And I was like, I don't give a flying fuck about anyone dealing with white guilt. Like, that doesn't matter to me. You feel me? Like, someone white experiencing guilt over having privilege, that sounds ridiculous to me. That's like someone, like, crying to me that they have too much fucking cake. It's like, really? It's like, you expect me to feel bad for you that you have too much of something delicious? You know what I mean? Because privilege is delicious. White people eat privilege on the daily, and they eat it and they don't share not one crumb. White people be acting like the Trunch Bowl with that box of candy. They be like, much too good for people of color. Okay? That's just what it is. That's what it is sometimes. But yeah, I definitely agree that, like, waking up people is not for everybody, but I do believe that if you're awake, it's, like, imperative that you at least try, at least fucking try to wake other people up. And I understand it can be frustrating at times, and when it is, you can stop. But it is, and I do agree. I agree. I agree that one of the greatest tools to wake people up is how you celebrate yourself with your blackness. Because I know that there are so many people that have been like, for the longest time, I was too busy trying to claim mixedness, trying to other myself, trying to make myself out to be, more than just black, and not realizing how anti-black, my thoughts were, or my actions were. Because anti-blackness is in a lot of areas, even amongst other POC. So you have to remember to combat that shit. And I think that that's, like, a big part of being anti-racist, is to really, like, clock anti-blackness where the fuck you see it. But yeah, so I'm gonna dip out. I appreciate y'all for listening to this. I'm going to add the 11 minutes of the stream that I did in between the first stream and this one to this one, and then we're gonna work on it. But I did watch Tommy Sotomayor. I don't want to say his name wrong, but Tommy Sotomayor. I watched one of his videos. Terrible. You know, he has he's very like he's a sexist, like he's a male chauvinist, or rather like he's a chauvinist person. He has this idea that like black women owe it to him to like be respectable, or rather black women owe it to him to like not show off their bodies. And I think, you know, I watched like a couple minutes of a couple videos of his, and I remember writing comments to him that he never responded to, and I don't expect him to respond to me because like he's definitely the type of YouTuber that I used to be, where like I didn't care like other people like calling me out as long as I had like my core of people who cared about me. But now it's like very important for me to like hear like opposing ideas from other people, because like that's how like you learn. I'm not talking about like random fucking haters or people being like you're ugly, or people being like I don't really think that you're not a woman, because I really don't need people like trying to, you know, lecture me on like what my gender identity is or who I really am. But people like having other perspectives, and definitely people maybe calling me out for like using erasing language or using language that is gender erasing, or problematic in any way, and I appreciate that. But like with this person, it's very clear to me that like he's built his like empire on sexism, which like goes to show you like how deep like the patriarchy really goes. You know, you can be a black man condemning black women, have a black mother, have probably black siblings, probably have like black women in your life in some capacity, be it like cousin, aunt, grandmother, and still like have people like not question that, not say, you know, well, what about the black woman in your life? You know, there's so many people following this person blindly, and it like makes me physically ill to listen to what they say about black women, because again, black women do not exist in a vacuum. We live in a world where like we've been taking care of people for so long, but black women take care of people so good that people forget that we ain't taking care of them no more. You feel me? White people will come up and ask me to fucking teach them shit, will ask me to do shit for them, because they forget that I have autonomy. They forget. It's not that we still young in our country. White people still forget that as a black woman, I don't owe them shit. Or rather, as a black perceived woman, or assumed woman, I don't owe them shit. You know what I mean? Um, but um, I definitely, wow. Is that true, Queen Rivers? Is that like the true narrative, that his mother treated him bad and he was raped by a plus size woman? Like, is that really true? Because if like that's the case, like I don't even know where to go with that whole situation. Um, you know, I understand being having traumatic experiences, but I think the thing that bugs me, a lot of these like male, like a lot of these sexist dudes out here, they're fucking, a lot of them like are sexist because like of their like of like shit that happened with their mom. And like, I understand, like I come from a background where like my mom wasn't like, I don't feel like my mom was raised in a way that like was uh as progressive or as open as it needed to be for her to like really flourish and like really be happy. I think that my mother, like, she embraced motherhood because she had no choice. I think that my mother embraced motherhood um, skeptically and not with a lot of patience. So I think that that experience kind of made me more, I would say, I was more unwilling to really understand my mother because I just saw her as someone who really didn't have time for me. But like me recognizing, like, or me regular rather me figuring out my own autonomy kind of gives me a new perspective on what my mother was going through after having three children, and being, you know, with being with child at 25, no less. I'm going to be 25 in about a year and some change. So, I can't fathom like having your first child, and, also like my father not being around as much as he should have been to help her. And I think that, we all most of us actually come from like mixed families or blended families or families that have a single parent, or maybe even being raised by a guardian or a grandparent, or even foster care, because I certainly was in foster care for some years of my life. But I definitely have learned to forgive my mother. And can you not do that right now?
Sorry, baby.
Are you really?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, but he's trying to kill some fucking a bee's nest while I'm doing this. I'm like, do you know? I will bug. Don't do that. Um, Bougie Smalls, you're so funny. Um, but me finding my own autonomy, like, really, like, allowed me to, in a way, understand more, where my mom was coming from, and really, like, have empathy for her and really appreciate her, for the things she was able to do for me. Because, if I look, um, um, if I look back, there were things that my mom did that were magic. My mom is Harry Potter. You feel me? My mom is Lily Potter. And that's the other thing, you feel me? Black mamas is fucking Hogwarts. You feel me? Black mamas will make some shit pop off that you couldn't even imagine. You know what I mean? Like, let a black mama get in that kitchen and work their magic. Let a black mama fucking fix something for you. Let a black mama fucking invent some shit for you. My black mama did so much shit for me, and like did things that I know personally I can't even think of being able to do, and I'm sure that that was a part of like my mother's strength. But I do think, uh, I think that it can, I think that it can definitely be something that isn't passed on, though, because like, again, I have two younger brothers, and there were times where my mom, where my mom was amazing. Like, there was like me growing up with my mom. There were definitely times where I think like, she just wanted her own space, and I think that that's something that like really sucks, about being a single parent, especially really young. I think my mom just never really got to have privacy. Like, even growing up, my grandparents are like hella like, my mom was like, my mom's parents were like really religious, so I don't think my mom ever got to like really express herself in all the ways she wanted to. Cause I know like growing up, my mom would tell me all these stories about how she used to like make clothes and like take the train to like New York, and she was from Yonkers, and then they moved to Connecticut. So my mom always was like not super far from the city, but like not in the city ever, but like longed to be there. And I think that like she never got to like do what she wanted to do. And I think that having children reminded her of like how much she wasn't able to do. And like it doesn't hurt me anymore. It just reminds me that like I don't want to have children and pass that on to them, I don't want to have children and like regret or hold resentment for let me have a drink. I don't want to have regrets or hold resentment towards my children because I wasn't able to do things, or rather because I wasn't able to, kind of see myself outside of my parents' projections for me. And I think that that's what my mom wanted, for herself. And I think that's why my mom moved out when she was 15, and I stopped living with my mom when I was like 13. So like there's definitely like a pattern of like misunderstanding, or rather like a lack of communication. And I feel like my mom kind of perpetuated what her parents perpetuated for her. This like really, or rather, I think my mom was so like hell bent on like letting me like be myself and grow up how I need to grow up, while still like having like undertones of like this very religious background that she came from. And I think my mom was like so convinced that like she can be like fun and nice and outgoing, but I think that she always kind of had that base conservativeness, that was handed down from my grandparents. And I think that's the reason why, a lot of things happen in my life, the way that they happen. But I think my mom was so, more concerned with like not perpetuating her parents' mistakes, that she made her own mistakes. And I think that that's something that someone would expect. And I think that like growing up, I always said to myself, if I have children, I'm not going to try to just be their friend. I'm going to try to give them structure, so that they can, like flourish, but I don't want to give them so much structure. And that's the thing, like people think that you can break, that people think that like they're like the main point should be to break the cycle, but I think that it should be more about trying to just understand your children from a fundamental level, realizing that like they're people, that like these parenting books are bullshit, that like the idea that like you're above your children is stupid, you know, it just doesn't make any sense, because eventually my children are going to grow up, you know, eventually I grew up, you know, when I was young. I think like my resentment towards my father was like very little. I think that I just didn't understand. I think it came from like a very confused place, and then it got very like angry, and I was very upset, and I was very sad. And I think that it kind of like transformed into like this hatred that, you know, made me say things to him that like I regret, because I really don't want him to die. I really don't want like any harm to befall him. But I guess like that's what he created inside of me by like his absence. This feeling of like nothingness, and therefore I had no respect for him, and therefore I had no love for him. And the absence of love is not always indifference. I think the absence of love allows you to have like hate to flourish, and that's what it was. And like, you know, now I don't have a desire to form a relationship with my father, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that we have to recognize when people are not there for us. You know, we don't owe it to them to like do a callback, you know what I mean, and like have a fucking reprisal or have like a cameo appearance of them in our life again just because they were once in it before and they fucked up, you know. There's no such thing as like a rebuttal or like round two, second chance, especially when it comes to like parenting. I think like it's very safe to say that I gave my parents one chance to fuck it up and they did. So kind of moved on. Um yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to be an authoritative parent. I think I want it to be more, you know, the consequences are deeper than, you know, some visceral bullshit. Like I don't want to be taking away video games or taking away phones or things like that. I don't want to be limiting their communication or limiting their ability to like reach out and talk to other people. But I definitely think I'm dead. But I definitely don't want to be an abusive parent. I don't want to be a parent that like, I don't even like. I mean, I don't want to say I don't want to spank my kids, like, cause I think like I'll pop them on the hand one time and be like, nah. But I definitely don't want to be doing what my parents did to me, and I definitely don't want to be doing things that like make it so that it's hard for me to have a relationship in the future with my children. You know. Um, Well, no, I mean, I think I don't want to assume authority over my children. I don't want them to feel as if, you know, if they don't follow what I say, that like everything's gonna be fucked up. I want them to understand that like there are things uh, that I wouldn't want them to do. But like if they do them, I don't want to place like this hierarchical idea on like fucked up shit, you know. And I agree, spankings and whoopings never work because like I never I like as much as I got spanked, it didn't stop me from doing like shitty things or stereotypically bad things. However, I think that, you know, I muse about having children. That's not something I'm really interested in. Mainly because, you know, this is my body and I really don't feel like sharing it. But also, I just can't wrap my mind around birthing. Uh, it like scares me. I think that if I ever did get pregnant, I would. Wow, like I mean, I would be optimistic, you know, because I don't know, like I have like these very like I don't want to say like warped ideas about pregnancy, but I think that like I feel like I get scared because it's like I go through so many mood swings. I feel like, you know, mood swings definitely can affect like the growth of the baby, you know, different conditions in your body, you know, and I just feel like I don't know how safe my body would be for a child, to be honest. But with that said, we'll continue talking next time. I'm thinking about um, uh, I definitely want to continue this conversation later, but I was thinking about starting doing podcasts again. If you guys are interested in hearing some podcasts, you guys can totally give me some ideas. I was thinking about for one episode of my podcast. I was thinking about maybe doing. Oh, the ice cream man's they coming. Why are we never outside for the ice
He
cream?
never even stops.
He does. He stops right over here.
I've seen him stop once.
I seen him stop, but I hate him.
He's creepy looking.
He is creepy looking. He is. I wouldn't get candy from him or ice cream. And he has like this random helper in the back
Oh, really?
who looks like she's being held captive. Yeah, seriously. She's like sitting in a chair. Anyways, but yeah, I was. I think I'm gonna start doing podcasts again, as I was saying. And I think like one of the podcasts is gonna be surrounded on femcs, femme artists that like to that have really bomb music. I know Angel Hayes comes to mind, Farrah Funeral comes to mind, Shayna Ashley comes to mind. I actually like love battle rap, and I really just appreciate battle rap, and so I'm always excited. But anyways, so I appreciate y'all. I'll talk to y'all soon, and yeah. Bye. I know nobody wants me to leave. I love it too. But when I do a podcast, I'll be live as well. The podcast, you won't see me. Actually, I was thinking about doing like a podcast where like I do a Ustream as well. So it's like a Ustream plus a podcast where like people are calling in. But like sometimes people do be calling in and bugging on about certain shit. And I would just appreciate it if you did call into the podcast just for future references. Keep fangirling to a minimum. Keep questions about me to a minimum, because usually if you're calling in, we're doing a questionnaire type thing, or we're asking you for a story. So as much as I love, don't think I don't love, but I would just appreciate it. But yeah, so I'm gonna give you guys more information about that podcast situation coming up. But I'm thinking about maybe I'll do that like later tonight. Not later tonight, sorry, later this week. Okay, so take care and peace.